welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have a great workshop. Today we'll have our last workshop of the GreenBiz Caledon workshop series. This workshop is focused on best practices in employee engagement, and we have a great lineup of speakers today for you. So my name is Matt Burnett. I'm a program manager here at Partners in Project Green. We're part of the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority's Education and Training Department. For a couple of items for housekeeping today, just would ask that everyone on the call who's not presenting just to please remain muted, just so that we can avoid any issues with feedback. If you have any problems hearing anyone today or with audio, a recommended best practice is leaving the session and joining back right away. You can also message us directly in the chat if you have any problems as well. So we do have quite a few speakers lined up and some really great content. So we're really excited by this session and bringing home our workshop series as well. If you do have any questions related to the content that you'll be seeing and hearing from our presenters today, please do put them in the chat, and I'll get to more of that when we go through our agenda as well. So to start things off, I just wanted to start with a little virtual land acknowledgement. So while we meet today on a virtual platform, I really want to start by acknowledging the importance of the lands that we each call home. I know many of us are calling in from quite different places, many within Caledon and many outside of that region as well. We want to respectfully acknowledge that we're situated here at the TRCA in the traditional lands and territories. Just hoping that everyone can remain muted if they're just to avoid any feedback and that sort of thing. So here on this slide, I have the Toronto Region Conservation Authority's land acknowledgement, and just wanted to leave it here as part of the session here, just for everyone to read. I'm not actually going to read this out, but just want to acknowledge that the land acknowledgement itself is really a reflection of the land and the First Nation communities that live on it. In terms of what I've learned about land acknowledgements, I understand that it's quite meaningful when we acknowledge our personal relationship with the land. That's where we grew up, where we live now, and that we acknowledge what our intentions are here in the work that we're doing. So for me personally, I grew up in Brampton and in Caledon, both in the Peel region, and have lived in Toronto, Niagara. Now I reside in Orangeville, which is just north of Caledon, where a lot of our focus is with the GreenBiz Caledon initiative. Orangeville is situated on the traditional territories and treaty lands of the Huron-Wendat, the Petun, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe. In thinking about today's event, just want to fully recognize the role that all of our Indigenous peoples play in passing down the knowledge of their ancestors to protect our environment. And also want to express that the intentions of today, of this meeting, of this workshop and this workshop series, is really to provide a platform for knowledge sharing and learning on sustainability, and helping each other learn from each other, and finding opportunities for collective action to really advance our sustainability goals as well. So on this slide, I have a couple of additional resources if anyone is interested in learning a bit more deeply about the relationships with the lands that they reside and work on. Some really helpful resources here to understand what that relationship means and how to go about continuing to acknowledge and be aware of it too. So in terms of our agenda for our workshop today, I'm going to start things off with a quick intro to the GreenBiz Caledon initiative. Then we have a great lineup of speakers who will be talking about everything employee engagement related, as well as the key elements of employee engagement and a couple of case studies as well. We'll then move on into our question and answer period. So wanted to start things off by providing an overview of the GreenBiz Caledon initiative, including our resource hub and workshops. So GreenBiz is a free program designed for businesses to help businesses of all sizes and sectors with the support they need to reduce their carbon footprints, green their operations, and save on their bottom lines. So this program, as many of the returning attendees might be familiar, is established as a partnership between the town of Caledon and Partners in Project Green at the TRCA. So it consists of a resource hub, which is an online web-based platform where you can find resources, tools, and documents, everything a business might need to help them advance their sustainability goals, and is also anchored by a 4-part expert-led workshop series. So we're at the final part of that workshop series, as you'll see here. So we've had 3 great workshops so far and are about to dive into our next one on employee engagement. As you'll soon hear from our speakers today, employee engagement is really an anchor for advancing any sustainability goals in any of these other performance areas, whether that be water efficiency, energy management, or waste reduction as well. It's really much more meaningful when the employees can play a part of it, and arguably much more effective, and also makes improvements in these areas possible. So regardless of your business type or your business size or the businesses that you might interact with on a daily basis, we really feel that the resources that we're putting together through the Resource Hub and the sessions that we're providing as part of these workshops will be helpful and informative and provide tools that you can use within your own facility. So on the Resource Hub, which is free to access for any business members, there's a suite of action-oriented videos, tools, and materials. A lot of the videos available from our previous sessions, so if you've missed any of them, we would please encourage you to sign in and access them. Any of the materials that are there as well, we really hope that you can take them down, share with your team, and make them your own as well. So to get access, you can follow this link, register for free as a community access member, just so that you can log in and access the materials. So for today's session, I just want to give a quick intro of our speakers that we have here today. So first up, we'll have Maxx Kochar from Silver Dart Group. Then we'll have Tanya Ferlin from Husky Technologies, followed by Justina Braithwaite at TRCA's Sustainable Neighborhoods Action Program. So really looking forward to the session that we have today. And I have a quick video from one of our previous speakers. Going to try this out and see if it works. So Bruce Taylor from over at Enviro Stewards has been a previous speaker at one of our earlier sessions, and he's just going to have a couple remarks to introduce our speakers and also tie together the common themes that we've seen over these sessions as well. So this should work. I'm just going to confirm that you can hear me okay, or hear the audio.
Hello, welcome to the GreenBiz Caledon workshop series. You might recall my first one on water efficiency, or Stephen Dixon's energy conservation workshop, and Caledon and Husky Technologies workshop on solid waste management. All of these workshops are available online through GreenBiz, and I encourage you to look them up. All of them have employee engagement as a component of them. For example, Stephen Dixon had a great slide regarding kind of technology alone or technology with engagement, and kind of interestingly, even technology alone can have negative results sometimes. And so that was very interesting. With respect to engagement, F. Reinhardt from Harvard University has an interesting quote. One of the most significant benefits of policies aimed at using the environment to find cost savings may be their role in helping companies learn. That is, it may be possible to use concern about the environment as a tool in efforts to transform the firm into an organization capable of continuous learning and improvement. We've found that to be the case in ours. We put together multi-stakeholder teams because we need the buy-in throughout the organization to implement food, water, energy conservation. And environment's on everybody's list somewhere. It's not top of their list, but it's on the list. And so you can use it as an opportunity to work across silos. And then once people get experience working with the quality department, maintenance, management, supervision, whatnot, then they can work together on other things. And so engagement is very key. Another key aspect of engagement is purpose. So purpose-driven organizations, say like we're a B corporation. Our mission is we do our development work here, or sorry, engineering work here, and then we do development work with some of the profits from that. But this engagement really is good for attracting and retaining quality personnel. Another quote would be, "The time and the attention of competent managers are among the most valuable and scarce resources in any organization." Right? So what you're going to put your best people on is your most valuable and scarce resource. And so by engaging staff, you have the opportunity to keep them around. In our work, we teach so many different aspects that it's really necessary to keep people for 5, 10 years, 20 years, so they can provide the most benefit for the customers. And so really looking forward to this workshop, and hope you have a great time. Thank you.
Great. Well, I think building off of what Bruce has just said, a lot of that will come out in our presentations. And so I don't really want to take much more time before turning things over to Max. And then once we get through Max's presentation and Tanya's and Justina's, we'll have ample time for discussion and Q&A. So really encourage everyone to think about ways that this might apply to your organization, bringing up questions around challenges that you might had. We know that the employee engagement piece is an ongoing piece of the sustainability action plan as well. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Max. So I'll stop sharing. So you should be able to share now, Max, and feel free to take it away. Perfect. I think if you just unmute, then you'll be all good.
There you go. How's that? Perfect. Great. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being part of this event today. I am Maxx Kochar, the Chief Business Officer of the Silver Dart Group. The purpose of the consultancy for me, the short story is that that we keep our clients relevant to their customers. So we do a lot of design work, a lot of business improvement work, performance measurement, benchmarking, all kinds of cool businessy things. But at the end of the day, it's just because we want to make sure that our clients stay competitive in their marketplaces. Today, we're going to have a look at engagement, but it's in a slightly different way. And I'm going to go over a process to help you become more successful. And again, just keep in mind, I'm always happy to help whenever I can. At the end of this, I'll provide contact info. If you need to contact me to talk about things later, you're welcome to. Before I get into this, I got a bit of a short story, and you'll see why I tell stories as we go. I heard this story years ago. It was about Narcissus, and it was about a young youth. And the story says that each day he knelt beside this lake, and he would gaze upon his own beauty. And one day he fell into the lake and drowned. Sad story, but one of those good things happened. A flower sprung from there, and they named it the Narcissus. But the story continues a little bit further. There was tree spirits, forest spirits that appeared around the lake one day, and this lake at one point was fresh water, and it had transformed into a lake of salty tears. And the tree spirits, the forest spirits, asked the lake, "Why do you weep?" And the lake replied, "I weep for Narcissus." And the tree fairy said, "Oh, I understand. You weep for Narcissus because he was so beautiful." And the lake says, "But was Narcissus actually beautiful?" The thought. Anyway, we have to get on to business. So let me come back to the story later. I'll share the ending afterwards with you. So part of the business that we're talking about today, what I want to introduce to you is the concept of design thinking. I think a lot of you have heard of design thinking. It was a business methodology designed by IDEO, a design company out of San Francisco, probably about 20 years now. At Silver Dart, We apply design thinking to help our clients transform the way they develop products, services, their processes, and even how they develop their organizations. The key point with design thinking is that it's very human-centered at its core. And it engages and encourages organizations to focus on people as the primary. Focus on the people they're creating value for, which again, in turn, leads to better products, services, processes. And when you start to create a solution for your business need, your first question above all is what is the human need behind what we're about to do, regardless of the process, the activity, anything. And again, when it comes to engagement, think of the outcome you're looking for, right? It's not, and again, it's not just to have a community event or some type of activity that's happening. There's a reason why people would want to be part of that. And if you can start it off at the beginning with keeping that in mind and asking questions, it really becomes helpful. And so when we look at things, we, as a designer, I look at the space that we're going to host the event. Or again, if it's a virtual setting, if it's a physical setting, it doesn't matter. Even if it's a media space or a print ad, but what is the space going to look like? What are the experiences you want your participants to have? What do you, when the people come and they're engaged, what will that look like? What will that feel like? What is that experience going to be? And then it comes into the outcomes. At the end of this event, your engagement event, or what you believe is the engagement event, what is the outcome you're hoping for? What did you want them to do? What's your return on investment? And what you're trying to design maybe is actually a new reality. Again, we're talking about wastewater conservation. We're looking at keeping green space green, keeping things as safe as possible, as great as possible for our future generations and for ourselves now. We're trying to think of all these things. So when you think of engagement, you want to go past just thinking about that one incident. You want to look at the entire experience as a whole. So when it comes to, a lot of people are, thinking about what is employee engagement. So employee engagement relates to the degree of commitment and connection they have to your organization. So think about that. So it's not a matter of whether individuals come to work every day, but are they committed and connected to your organization? Do they believe in what you believe? Are they willing to participate? This is very important because there's been many studies that demonstrate that engagement is a critical driver to your business success. And in today's competitive market, everything you have, a lot of us know even firsthand that who we choose to do business, which organizations we choose to do business with, are the ones that we've got some type of connection to, either through like a referral, part of our network, we've interacted with them at some level, or we've met their employees. And sometimes there's been some businesses where you will decide that, I no longer want to do business here because of how you're treated by an employee. So it's very important to create this proper experience for your employees, for the people you want to have engaged. Again, like we saw in the other video as well, it does promote the retention of talent. It also encourages customer loyalty. And that's a big thing for your brand and for your business in general, is how do you keep people relevant? And again, that's one of the big issues that we focus on in our consultancy, is how do you make sure that this business becomes the preferred choice over and over and over again? It also improves organizational stakeholder value as well. Now, these are all great things, but in order to get this is what you have to do, is stop thinking about just as employee engagement. Think on a bigger scale. Think of it as what is people engagement. In order to engage people, you need to have something to motivate them. You have to start to build trust. And once you have that commitment that says you are also engaged, loyalty will come along with it. And that will go a long way for you to support all the initiatives and things that you want to achieve. It's, again, engagement is not an employee issue, it's a people issue. Something that you have to really focus in on. And when it comes to the themes of engagement, and again, these are going to be business related things. Whenever you put together, so if you're looking at some type of a conservation activity, or you're looking at some type of a community event for a cleanup or something to clean up your green space, some way to do it, conservation of wastewater, anything that you have to do that relates to sustainable development goals, and even any type of socially responsible activity, you need to look at your business case. You need to understand the nature and drivers of the engagement. Who are the people that you want to bring in with you? You also have to look at the role of the leaders that are part of this, because without leadership and without the leaders being engaged, it's very tough to get other people to go along with it as well and to commit. You have to look at the guidelines for effective engagement initiatives. What are the standards? What are the requirements? What are the time requirements? Look at the logistics. How are you going to get people to move into that? And if you notice that a lot of things we're talking about are not just the event itself, but it's what that event is going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what is going to be that experience. And you have to design the ideal experience for people. What is the nature of the culture even? Do you have a workplace that is very inclusive? Do you have one that's very accepting? Do you have one where everybody's invited to participate? Because that's another issue that you have to consider as well. How do you communicate with your employees or people in your organization? How do you get them to come out? How do you get them to know? And how do you get them to be prepared for what they're about to do and become part of? And then there's one other factor as well. You have to look at things at a global level as well. What are things that are happening in the workforce, the employee, the communities, worlds that may be affecting them as well? So there are a lot of things, and all this has to do with designing that ideal experience for your team. We also look at, now when you look at the design thinking process, if anybody does a search on Google or anywhere else, you'll find dozens and dozens of models of the design thinking process. It's changed, it's evolved, it's tweaked basically by industry and the users themselves. It starts with the empathizing of the issues, and some of those critical factors, the themes that we just spoke about in the previous slide, have to do with that empathy. Like what is it that people are involved in? What is it that they care about? How does that match up with the organization's values, purpose? What do they want to achieve going forward? Those are the things that you want to understand. Once you have that level of empathy within your group, then you can start to define, again, what problem are you trying to solve, or what issue, or what objective do you want to get? Remember, keep in mind that the things that we're getting involved in are not always negatives. There are positives, like we want to do better, we want to improve. So the idea is, how do you define that it's a win? Do we move even just a little bit? Do we move a lot? Do we accomplish the goals? That's where your performance measurements and metrics come in. The ideation phase is probably one of the most fun pieces of this. This is where you can bring your group together, your team that's going to be putting on this event, or you're going to be doing this engagement initiative, or this thing that you want to put together, and come up with ideas. How do you make it better? What is it going to look like? What is it going to feel like? When the people, how are they going to get to the site? How are we going to let people know where the site is? Are they allowed to bring friends and family? Do we want them to bring friends and family? Do we want this to grow bigger than just us and our organizations? Remember, the more hands, the better that can be part of this, because you're really about building a community. So you want to put together as many ideas. And one thing I'll tell you that's really important. If you have pens, write this down, please. This is really profound. Ideas are great in any value. Just do not torpedo them. Just let them come out. Just let people talk. Put on a piece of paper so you don't forget about it. So just have the ideas and just run through them. You know, give people the respect to that they can voice their opinions. Then you do a prototype. Prototyping is great. It's a lot of fun. And again, this is not an expensive activity. And it's basically, let's say, for example, you wanted to do tree planting. All right, so let's start off with one tree. Let's take our small group, go to where we think we want to plant this tree and other trees and put one down. Let's see, what is it? How does it feel? How was it easy to get there? Was it difficult to get there? What stuff did we need to bring with us? How do we tell everybody about it? How do we know that everybody showed up in the right place? All that kind of stuff. And then at the end of it, what do you want me to do with it now? And say, well, another idea might be, wouldn't it be great if the 2025 iteration of tree planting was in the field next door and we saw these little saplings 2 years after we planted them? That's the idea, the ideation, the prototyping, the thinking about how are you going to make this happen? And then on top of that, then you get to the end of it where you test. And the testing is just simply asking questions about, did it work? Did everybody show up on time? Was this effective? How many, you know, how whatever the metric or measure you have, did it work? And that's also where you apply the lessons learned, where, you know what, maybe, you know, 3 people called in and said, I couldn't find the place, or it was too short of notice. You can put that back into the ideation. Okay, how might we have told people better of where this place would be? So that's that kind of a mindset, is you're trying to make things better. You're trying to be conscious of the people that you're inviting out there. And you want to show them that you yourself are engaged with them. And the process here has one more step. And I think this is probably the most fun. It's the storytelling piece. Once you've done your event, once you've done the activity, you need to go out and tell everybody. And one of the best ways to tell people is leverage social media. If you have an intranet, you've got a great social media feed, take pictures of people having fun, doing what they're supposed to be doing, actually being part of it. We all have been to family events. And one of the things, sometimes embarrassing, but there's pictures that come out. We get to see and remember all this fun stuff. And so the storytelling is probably one of the most important things, because as your projects evolve, as your events mature, as your organization changes, this becomes part of your legacy and your history. And you start to use that and build going forward as well. So you've got a good platform to build off of. Again, storytelling, I think is a brilliant thing, and you have to do it, especially when it's, again, people like to see themselves show up in these types of promotions and productions. They get to remember their fun. But a tip, try to take good photos of people and show their best sides. See here. So the engagement piece it's really about building a community. And a lot of times what happens is when we pick events and initiative and activities that we're looking at, even a lot of our performance measurements, they're on a very large scale. And sometimes we benchmark and measure against global things or national metrics, or, you know, these stats that seem they're a bit too big sometimes. My recommendation is start with local. Start with your team, grow it into your department, grow it into other departments, grow it into your company, bring it out to the community. So you want to start with local and really commit to it and become engaged yourselves, commit to the local, achieve the local. And then once you're there, start to pursue global. Start again through storytelling, share what you've done, share what you've accomplished. Even if you've come up with challenges, share those as well. Maybe you'll bring some information from another community that's conquered that, or maybe they've gone through it as well, and your collaboration might design a better experience, a better prototype for the next event for yourselves. Right?
That's great. And Max, I just wanted to jump in just a couple more minutes before we'll have to turn it over to Tanya to keep on schedule. So just wondering if there's any final words on that.
Yeah, no problem. So what I'm gonna do, let me skip a little further forward here and get into this piece here. So let me go here. So when you apply design thinking to think of it as an outcome. So what you want to do is you want to frame your question. And just so everybody knows, the slide deck will be available for you after. So if I go through it a bit quicker, you will have it. So frame your questions, gather the inspiration, generate the ideas, make ideas tangible, test and learn, and make sure you share your stories. Okay. And again, there's 4 steps that I'm going to add to this for you as well. And let's have a look at this. So build scrappy prototypes. And the big thing here to remember is creativity above capital. It doesn't need a large budget to do these things. Sometimes the pen and paper will be just fine. Sticky notes are great tools to use. Okay? Turn your problems into questions. So one of the things that happens here is take for example, an organization who's struggling with reducing waste. Instead of focus on the waste reduction rates, consider how might we make reducing waste a better employee experience. So you want to refocus this on the real human need. But also one of the powerful questions is start them by asking, how might we improve this? How might we improve the engagement? How might we improve the experience? Okay, and then absolutely get into the lessons learned. That's going to help you improve on your next iteration. You must do this. And like I said, the slide deck will be available for you, so we're not going to be short-handed on this. So just a really quick thing for you here is self-reflection is, are you yourself engaged? There's our reflections of leadership, and what you see is what you see, how you lead, what they see, and then what we see. There's differences. And I just want to finish that story for you with Narcissus really quickly here. So the fairy said, who better than you to know if Narcissus was beautiful? After all, it was him that knelt beside you each day. The lake went silent and came back and said, I weep for Narcissus. Correct. I never noticed he was beautiful. I weep because, and really think about this, the lake wept because every time Narcissus knelt beside the lake could see in the depths of Narcissus' eyes, the lake's own beauty. And one thing about engagement is it's not about us, the event, or anything else. It's about getting other people engaged and seeing how valuable, how beautiful, and how helpful they are. So that's what you have to do. So make sure that every event that you do, think about the people that you're engaging with and make sure that you're able to let them see how great they are as well. And that's all I've got for right now.
Amazing. Thank you, Max. No, that was fantastic and really quite inspirational in terms of how to think about an employee engagement. So now we'll turn it over to our first case study with Tanya over at Husky Technologies and kind of seeing their approach to taking a lot of the concepts that Max has been talking about and putting it into practice. Over to you, Tanya.
Great, thank you so much. Can you see my screen okay? Yeah, okay, awesome. Wow, Max, that was awesome. I just want to give a shout out to Max because I think he helped frame up the next few presentations up very nicely. What is employee engagement, defining why is it important? And I invite us all just to think about that. It's really people engagement. So I love that you called that out, Max. So hi everyone, my name is Tanya Furlan. My pronouns are she, her. I am the Global Manager of Communications and ESG here at Husky. So our environmental, social, and governance strategy. And that's really looking at issues within all of those 3 categories. And within the social, the S of ESG, that is where employee engagement is a large priority. Of course, I don't do it alone. I have a whole, basically every single Husky team member is an extension, but working closely with our human resources team. But I guess I'll just mention that wherever you are in your organization, whether you're a small business or just a a larger or mid-sized group, employee and people engagement really is the responsibility of each and every one of us. So if you haven't heard of Husky, I will give you just a quick overview about who we are and what we do. And then I will give a quick overview around what does putting purpose at the core look like here at Husky. So a lot of the things that Max already talked about. And he also explained like how to kind of grow and develop employee engagement. This hopefully will give you a few examples of how we've done it, and I invite you to think about how you can recreate this in your organizations as well. And then specifically driving sustainability through employee engagement. I'll share some stories of things that we've done here that we've really enjoyed and our people have really enjoyed as well. So starting out, we are almost 70 years old. Next year we will be, but we've been pioneering technology to serve many different industries, primarily the essential goods industries, which I'll share a little bit about. And we've always taken a sustainability focused approach in kind of everything we've done here at Husky. And so while we are based here in Bolton, we do have over 40 locations globally. We have over 4,300 employees, team members globally, and we serve customers in over 140 countries. But I'll share with you some examples that maybe I hope will be applicable to your organization as well. And as I mentioned, the industries that we serve span from food and beverage packaging to the medical industry. So if we think about a lot of the plastic products in those industries and the essential need that they serve, water in the medical industry, like test tubes and syringes, a lot of those essential items are enabled by Husky. And we provide the system, so the machinery, and then we also provide the molds and the service to customers to help basically be able to provide the global community with these essential goods. Now, I want to this is kind of one of the most important slides here, and I think Max mentioned it as well, as putting purpose really at the core. And that's why I wanted to share this, that here at Husky, our purpose is to enable healthy and sustainable livelihoods globally. And so that's the approach that we take externally for all of our external stakeholders, but we also look at that, what does that look like in action internally for our employees as well? And so tied into purpose is our vision and mission. And so think about what is your company vision and mission? What are your company's purpose? And I'll get into values as well. But I think these are good places to start when thinking about employee engagement, people engagement, tying it back to your purpose, your vision, your mission, and your core values. And that's kind of the approach we've taken here at Husky. And so these are our three core values, and that is act with integrity, respect, and courage, foster teamwork and learning, and a commitment to excellence. So when we think about employee engagement and what that looks like here, we kind of try to focus in on promoting, encouraging, celebrating, recognizing these core values. Again, as I mentioned, we do have sustainability as a key kind of foundation of everything we do at Husky. So we do take like that sustainability focused approach and tying it in with these core values. So we recently launched these updated purpose, mission, vision, and core values, and we thought, how do you share that with employees? You can send an email, which we did, but there should be a more engaging, more fun way to do that. So what we did was we hosted a series of brand refresh events where kind of just very cheap and cheerful events, like Max mentioned, creativity over capital. We definitely took that approach as well, but it made a big impact. And so what we did was we got this kind of like an Instagrammable grass wall, created a cool little branded space, blew up some balloons, and our people just really enjoyed it. And the other thing was being mindful, of course, of just like what we were working with, our global scale. we know that also our focus is on our production and how do we maintain like operational efficiency while also creating a really memorable, engaging event. So we designed this event in such a way that it was just a quick pop in, didn't take too much time. We offered refreshments like lemonade and popcorn to team members, and they had the opportunity to take a photo. So like it was a really simple way to engage people, quick, cheap and cheerful, and it was very, very well received and created, it offered an opportunity to create connections within, with our employees, not just from our teams, but they networked with each other, and they really enjoyed that as well. Now, tying in sustainability, I'm really, really proud to work with an amazing team that leads a lot of our sustainability engagement events, my environmental health and safety team. And so you may have heard from one of them in a previous GreenBiz webinar, Karen Brar, but they run a series of different events throughout the year, kind of tying in different themes with the engagement event themselves. So I invite you to think about what that could look like for your organization. Maybe if you don't know where to start, a good place to start is your purpose, mission, vision, values, but then also tying it into sustainability. Look for those specific like dates that you can probably create a theme around. So you can see here like from Earth Day cleanups, lunch and learns with an educational focus, Earth Week, Zero Emissions Day, Waste Reduction Week. We did really fun event. I think this was, I want to say it was last week or the week before that. Pardon my memory. It feels like it was just last week because it was a really fun, engaging event. Also, again, with that educational focus where the team asked our employees to kind of sort the different recycling materials where they believed the items should go, and a chance to win a prize as well. So there's that kind of incentivizing your people to participate could be another way to kind of drive that employee engagement if you're just getting started and building a culture around that. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our Green Shares program. I know it was mentioned before, but so we have a very strong sustainability focus, as I mentioned. So not only are we looking at reducing our greenhouse gas footprint and carbon footprint globally in our operations, but we know that we need to start internally as well and looking at creating ambassadors and creating a culture around encouraging everyone to take those small actions necessary. Is one way we do it is through our Green Shares program, where we incentivize our people and encourage our people and reward them basically for their sustainable actions, whether that is carpooling or riding a bike to work if that's available to them, or perhaps opting for a plant-based meal on a weekly basis, those kind of things to encourage our team members to take sustainable action. So that's, I think, rewarding, offering that level of reward is a really easy way to drive some of that engagement. And next, this kind of ties in to what Max was saying around communication. It's great if we're doing all this work, but if we're not sharing about it, like communication is a really integral part of an engagement strategy. And so we realize that we have all this knowledge of our team members around sustainability. And so how do we share that from different topics around whether it's promoting our Green Shares program and encouraging engagement that way, or talking about the benefits and how of a circular economy and how Husky is enabling the circular economy of plastics, especially the polyethylene terephthalate, the #1 plastic. And so we launched a series of what we call sustainability spotlights, in which we share on a weekly basis videos, infographics, maybe short interviews, just to help engage our people around the topic of sustainability. So as I mentioned, it's digital, It's housed on our intranet, but we also email a recap on a monthly basis because we know a lot of people already get so many emails. So just thinking about the strategy and when it comes to engagement, how are you engaging your people? Is it just virtual? Is it in person? What is the cadence? How often? Is there too much? Is there not enough? So we find that this weekly delivery works for this particular initiative. And then it's educational. That's another thing. Like, think about what are those messages that you want to engage. What will your stakeholders, what will your employees find valuable? And so we know that sustainability is a top priority for our internal people. We've done a survey earlier this year, so we knew that this was an area that they would find a lot of value in. And lastly, it's interactive. So the other way that we share sustainability spotlights is through an engagement app that we use internally called Yammer. It's part of the Microsoft Suite platform, but team members can actually like, comment, and share just internally within Husky, but it provides that level of interactive engagement. So think about how you can incorporate that into your engagement strategies. So I know I've gone through a lot of content here. Am I okay for just to wrap up?
Yeah, wrap up would be perfect. Thank you,
Okay,
Tanya. Yep.
Great. This is my last slide. But thinking about developing an intentional brand purpose, mission, vision, and core values, make sustainability part of your corporate culture, and then reward your sustainability ambassadors. These are some key takeaways that we find work really well, and I'm really happy to share them with you, and I hope you all try them out. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for sharing all the great ways, the creative ways that Husky is looking at tackling engagement, people engagement within the organization. Now we'll turn it over to Justina for another short presentation, looking at another lens in which people engagement is important, and that's with communities, which can offer opportunities not only for businesses to engage their employees in a different way, but also to become active in the communities that are their homes as well. So over to you, Justina, and then after that, we'll get into some Q&A.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone see my screen? Good. Okay, thank you. Sorry, just 1 second. I just need to set something up. Okay, can everyone still see my screen? Yep, perfect. All right, so hi, everyone. So my name is Justina Braithwaite, and I'm a project manager with the Sustainable Neighborhoods team here at TRCA, and I'm a colleague of Maxx. So my presentation today will focus on a local Caledon-based community project called West Bolton Sustainable Neighborhood Action Program, which can provide some opportunities for local business engagement. So this initiative I wanted to highlight is being co-led by the town of Caledon and TRCA, and I am one of the 2 project managers on this project. So first, a little bit of background on the Sustainable Neighborhood Action Program, which we call SNAP for short. So SNAP is a neighborhood-based solution for sustainable urban renewal and climate action. It's a program that's led by the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, but it's very collaborative. So it's all about working with the local community and multiple stakeholders in a targeted neighborhood to come up with a shared neighborhood action plan to improve the local environment, but also to address some of the local community interests and needs. So some example stakeholders that we typically engage through this process are municipalities, local schools, local groups, and also businesses. There is a growing network of SNAP neighborhoods in the GTA and beyond. Currently, we have 16 SNAP neighborhoods as shown on this map with stars. And then locally, within the town of Caledon, we have 1 SNAP neighborhood, which is the West Bolton neighborhood. And then I just wanted to highlight some of the typical areas that our action plans focus on. So there are 4 of them, which are listed on this slide. So the first one is home renovation, which focuses on single-family homes. The second one is public infrastructure renewal, which focuses on revitalization of parks, roads, and other public spaces. The third one is multi-unit residential and then institutional and commercial renewal, which focuses on greening and resilience initiatives associated with these sectors. So this includes businesses. And then the fourth one is community resilience, which is an area that looks at fostering positive community connections and capacity building within the neighborhoods that we work in. So through the SNAP program, we developed an action plan and have been working on its implementation in the West Bolton neighborhood, which is located in Bolton in the town of Caledon. So this is the neighborhood that's shown on the map here. It's located west of Queen Street and north of Elwood Drive, and it's very close to the historic downtown in Bolton. So it's within the Humber River watershed, and Humber River flows along a portion of the northeast boundary of this neighborhood. And then I also wanted to point out that there is Jaffrey's Creek flowing through this neighborhood, which is a historic tributary to the Humber, and it traverses the neighborhood. And it was one of the key determinants of why we chose this neighborhood. There were some erosion issues around Jaffrey's Creek that were threatening public or private property. So we were trying to look at remediating those issues. But we also learned that there is higher than average home energy use in portions of this neighborhood, as well as higher than average water use in portions of this neighborhood as well. So we wanted to look at that and see how we can tackle it through this action plan. And then I wanted to also note that this neighborhood is mostly comprised by single family homes in varying age, from over 100 years old to as young as 15, 20 years old. There are a couple of institutional properties, such as a community center and library and a school here, and not a lot of businesses within the area, as it's kind of contained mostly around the Bolton, downtown Bolton area, and then south of the neighborhood with the employment lands. So this slide summarizes the action plan that we developed for the West Bolton community. So this plan was developed in close partnership with the town of Caledon and the region of Peel, as well as local residents and local community groups. And this action plan was approved by the town of Caledon Council in 2019. So the overarching theme of this action plan is bringing people, nature, and places together, and it reflects local interest in connectivity and both in terms of people connecting social connectivity, but also connecting different sections in the neighborhood to each other. And then the overall visionary concept for this action plan is an interconnected network of trails and revitalized destinations, which has been inspired by that local interest in neighborhood connectivity. And then further, there are 5 interrelated theme areas that guide this action plan. So we have living trails and streets, which focuses on promoting active transportation for all ages within the study area, as well as streetscaping and trail improvements. We have living creek and wildlife, which focuses on stormwater management, habitat enhancements within the area. Living places, which focuses on renewing public and institutional properties within the study area. Living homes, which focuses on strategic and home and property retrofits that collectively can contribute to reduce energy and water consumption, increased waste diversion, increased urban forest canopy, and stormwater management. And then last but not least, we also have living communities, which really focuses on nurturing the existing community groups, and then creating a neighborhood movement to help support implementation of this plan. And I've also included a link to our website where you can see a little bit more about the action plan. And I would like to also highlight the sustainability objectives that were developed for the West Bolton area. So these objectives represent a combination of government, agency, and community interests and objectives. And it's a comprehensive framework of sustainability, including environmental, but also socioeconomic aspects as well. So it has guided the development of the action plan, and it's guiding our measurement and tracking of impact that we are making in this neighborhood. So now I just wanted to highlight some of the key initiatives as part of the West Bolton project. So the first initiative is related to that trail system that I highlighted in the brief overview. So as part of this, we've developed a trail and places master plan in West Bolton. And this plan provides the vision for that interconnected system of trails and destinations across West Bolton. So the key objectives of this trail system are to promote physical and mental health by providing places and opportunities for physical activity and meditative activities as well. And then to help strengthen community connections by providing opportunities for residents to come together. And I also included a link to this trail plan as well, as it's very exciting and it has a lot of different conceptual designs for different places in West Bolton. So I encourage you to look at it. So as we develop the trail plan, we have conceived this idea for 4 distinct trails within West Bolton. Each trail has a different theme and character, and it's shown on the map on the slide. And then along this trail, there are several different stops that provide opportunities for rest, interpretation, and education. And also included on the slide is sort of a concept plan for one of those trail stops.
And Justina, I just wanted to jump in for just a 2-minute warning now, just to make sure that we have time for questions.
Sure. So I would just highlight that we have the Green Home program, which focuses on that single family home improvement area. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. We also have been focusing on improving public spaces and parks within the area. An example would be the Heritage Hills Parquet revitalization, when we've completed a lot of retrofits and focusing on other parks too. We've also been focusing on tree planting and naturalization, improving natural places in the neighborhood, and over the past years planted 1,300 trees. And then last but not least is the community engagement and resilience, which really helps to support community connections, capacity building, collaborations with local groups, and also celebrate local arts and culture. So lastly, I just wanted to highlight some opportunities for business and employee engagement in the West Bolton SNAP project. We would really welcome the opportunity to explore different partnerships with local Caledon-based businesses. On this slide, I've included some ideas, such as employee participation in implementation projects such as tree plantings, cleanup, and different activities. There are opportunities for perhaps educational tours and learning opportunities for employees. There are also sponsorship opportunities. So these are just a few, but we are also open to other ideas as well, and really would welcome further conversations and discussions. So, and lastly, just to end, just wanted to highlight some benefits that businesses can attain from engaging in local projects, which can help create a positive image of the business in the community, help with brand recognition, and then assuming that a portion of your employees might live in the local area of Bolton or Caledon, getting involved in that local community can also create a positive experience and image amongst your employees as well. So that's it for me. My contact information is on the slide, and hopefully we'll get to connect further. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justina. Thank you again to all of our speakers today. Now we'll take the remaining time that we have, the next 15 minutes or so, to get into any questions that members of the audience might have. So would encourage anyone that does have questions, maybe it's challenges that you've had with your own employee engagement. A lot of important topics were discussed throughout the workshop today. I know one that's top of mind for many employers out there is retention, as well as attracting talented employees as well. So if you do have any questions specific to your own situation or challenges that you've addressed or faced recently, would invite you to please come forward with some questions and we can get a discussion going. But maybe to get things started off, my first question would be for Tanya, and then would love to hear from Max and Justina as well. When developing Husky's employee engagement programs and your overall approach, could you speak to some of the early challenges that you had overall, and what were some of the key wins to kind of help you along the path that you've currently been going on? Because I know for many organizations that might be listening in today or might be listening in the future, there's a lot of challenges that can kind of sink an employee engagement initiative early on. So just wondering if you might be able to speak to that.
Sure. I think, well, I've been with Husky for 7 months, so I'm quite new, but we're all kind of in different stages of our employee engagement program journeys. And so when we think of employee engagement, like for us, it's not like one bucket on its own. There are many different ways in which we engage our employees, engage our team members. And I think one approach that's worked for us is actually very similar to what Matt was explaining of like that design thinking. Like that's the approach that we've taken, is like, especially the prototype, like try it. I think a challenge that many organizations have is like, okay, do I take the risk of trying something new? What if it doesn't work? Right. And so that's a question that's come up here. But we've found that to Matt's point is like, well, you have to prototype it and then you can scale and see, oh, if it works, then you can iterate, you could do it again. And also an important piece of that puzzle is also getting feedback. So the way that we've approached that is literally just listening to our employees, listening to our team members, whether that's through survey or through one-on-ones, having discussions, finding out, okay, what do our employees want? What is it that we need to focus on when it comes to our engagement, to growing that sense of commitment? So listening to them has been a really key approach to solving for that, and trying different things. Like I said, that sustainability spotlight series, that's something new. We're still learning, and so being continuously looking at how do we improve those existing programs, repeating what works and learning from those things that didn't work. Sorry, I know there were a lot of things there, but I hope that helps answer.
No, that's really helpful. And I see a hand up from Chelsea. So if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and asking your question as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for these presentations. They're great. My name is Chelsea. I work at Air Canada. My title is Sustainability and Engagement Manager. So super helpful. I mean, I work in an organization with 20,000+ employees, and we are, we do create events and stuff, and people just don't seem to come out. So I don't know if you have any advice on that. If there's some resources out there, like reading material, I'm going to like Google a lot of the stuff that you guys have mentioned today. Glad we're recording. And, I don't know if that is a measure of like people not being engaged. So we are doing a survey in November to find out more about like, do you even want to do physical activities, or do you prefer, just virtual? Or so it's tough. The company as a whole is doing like an engagement piece on employee like retention, etc. But my role is more engaging around environment. So yeah, I'm really looking to plan next year now. So I'm just trying to gather as much information to make it as successful as possible.
That's a great question, and wondering if our presenters today have any initial thoughts on that.
Sure. Sorry, Chelsea, was that for any particular, was that for me, or was it open?
I don't know. I mean, I really liked Max's presentation. If Max has something to say to that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Chelsea. It's interesting. Like I said, I'm actually a big airport guy as well. That's one of my specialties. And it's what you have to do is, my recommendation is Air Canada. You said it was Air Canada, correct?
That's the one.
Yep. So that's like a mega corporation, and there's so many people, so many different cultures. And one of the challenges, maybe think of it in terms of this. Think of some of your solution falling into DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You've got so many cultures, you've got so many different mindsets, you've got global issues, global initiatives. And if you start to design maybe one activity, like again, start on a smaller scale, like maybe just within the Greater Toronto area, and see what types of community events you can bring in. But the design thinking piece comes into is, what do you want them to be engaged in? Like, what's that question? Like, what is it that you want them to get out of it? And before you start to design, focus on more questions. And if you can generate like dozens and dozens of questions and start to put them into themes and little buckets, that might get you closer to designing a better experience for people. But I think questioning is the way to go. And again, this is, and I said, I'm happy to talk to you offline on this. They said the airports and airlines are a big thing for me. So I'm happy to help, but it's really about looking at, a broad view first with like dozens and dozens of questions, and then bringing it back into small bite-sized pieces is what it is. But some of the issues with large corporations, especially that are international, a lot of it has with diversity, inclusion, and equity. Do people feel like they're actually part of the company? And that might be a question for you.
Yeah, we certainly sort of silo those activities, like in the ESG sector. Like I do the E, so I'm mainly focused on the environment side of these things. Although a lot of the activities I do, I try to promote, like just working with charities who also support Indigenous communities in Canada, for example, like with water challenges. So that's environmental. So, I mean, that's great. Focus on questions. We're having a bit of a focus group with my team next week. So we'll look into that, and I'll certainly reach out. So thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. Yeah.
And just to build off of Max's point and a point that he made throughout his presentation, and that came up with the other two presentations as well, is really around that purpose piece. And I think that's been something that we've been thinking about a lot with some of our own events at PPG in terms of the purpose. It's a bit more of a challenge to get people out in person sometimes. And so what is the purpose of them actually being there that they might not be able to experience virtually as well, if that's also an option in terms of the events that you're offering. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's helpful, but yeah, no, thank you, Max. And any other questions from the group at all? Any other challenges, or even for our speakers today, any common challenges that you've seen come up with some of the clients that you've worked with in the past, Max?
Yeah, the biggest challenges, they seem to be they always circle around not defining, like, from my perspective, outcome isn't the process. The engagement is more of an outcome. It's a result of all these other activities and initiatives. So if you had, say, a local cleanup, say around Etobicoke Creek or something, and you're doing something local, say, within Chelsea's region. Okay, just because they came out and they picked up a little bit of debris doesn't mean they're engaged. It just means that they came out. And the idea is what do you want them to be engaged in? And maybe that's one of the biggest questions. Maybe put some metrics around, what does engagement look like? What does it feel like? How does it affect the corporate culture? How does it bring people together? Years ago, it's a really kind of a really short story. Years ago, I met this one fellow in Providence, Rhode Island, and he was telling me about water fire. This thing about art. I go, I don't know what that is. He says, well, it's art. I go, but it doesn't help me. He says, well, I said, well, I don't know what the point of this is. And then he answered the real question. He says, well, it's art. Its only purpose is to bring communities together. And I go, I'm in. Yeah, I want to do that. So how do we make this happen? And we created this big event and talked about it. We got people to come in to share stories, to talk, and to share their experiences. It was about building that community. So that's the biggest challenges, is that a lot of the strong companies, and that was the one thing that Husky that Tanya brought forward, Justina brought forward with that. It was about communities. How do you build the community? And it doesn't have to be large, like Air Canada. All these companies are a community. They're global. Just build the community. What is it that they want? Share the stories, share the wins, get them to share channels. That's one of your biggest things that has to happen.
I'll just add one quick comment, kind of to what Max and Chelsea's question. Max, you're focused on like DEI. I think that's the way to go as well, because if we think about like Air Canada as a global organization, like Husky, we're also global. One angle that we've taken all of our engagement, including communications, is like, how do we make our tactics, our events, our initiatives inclusive as possible. So that's looking at languages, like making sure that we're speaking or offering whatever event in that local language. That's just one kind of perspective that I think would encourage more engagement.
I think that's so important, and really appreciate all the thoughts shared. I do want to save some time for Max and some of his closing remarks in terms of a message to leave everyone with. But for those on the call, just to reiterate, the materials from today's session will be available on the resource hub. We will make the recording available as well, so that you have access to that. Partners in Project Green for this GreenBiz Caledon initiative also has a business survey. So any thoughts in terms of what you'd want to see in the future of GreenBiz, would love to hear from you on that. So I'm just going to post that in the chat and would ask everyone just to take a couple minutes just to give us some of their honest feedback. But Max, I'd love to turn it over to you in terms of final thoughts and closing things out.
Sure, no, happy to. So where I want to leave this is I want to hopefully change like a bit of your mindset. So think of this. Engagement needs another kind of courage. It needs your willingness to be vulnerable. Generally, when we think of courage as personified, by a soldier heading off to battle, an athlete working through an injury, even children not crying when they get a needle at the doctor's. But that's only one type of courage. If engagement is truly what we seek, and I mean really, if that's really what you're looking for, if we need people to fully show up, to bring their best selves, their whole selves, including their unguarded whole hearts, so that we can innovate to create next practices, solve problems, serve our communities, serve people, we must be relentless about creating a culture where people feel safe, seen, heard, where they feel the freedom to be creative and innovative, but also respected. And that sounds a lot like DEI, yes? Leaders of all organizations, especially the people that we're talking to today here, leaders of all organizations, especially those that are proponents of sustainable development goals and socially responsible activities, must care. They must be connected, and they must be engaged with the people that they lead. When it comes to engagement, this means if we're going to successfully accomplish any socially responsible goals and activities and find the best solutions, we need and must connect to the people we speak to. Leaders must be as engaged as we expect our colleagues to be. And here's the barrier. We cannot engage with our colleagues without allowing ourselves to be vulnerable too. And that's the truth. That's the courage that I'm referring to. This means if the outcome you seek is engagement, you must allow yourself to be engaged first. And friends, that's what takes courage. And that's where I want to leave that with you.
Well said. And thank you for that, Max. Thank you again to our presenters today. Thank you, Max, Justina, and Tanya, for a very informative session. Hope everyone on the call got a lot of insight and value out of the session today. And we'll look forward to resharing these materials and information through the GreenBiz Caledon Resource Hub as well. So thank you, everyone, for your time today, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.